When we look at the Bible passages that teach our need of being content, we may realize that there are some things we have to be satisfied with that are not that pleasant. Good morning, I'm Pastor Ernie Lewis of the Blue Point Church in Sisney, Illinois, with your thoughts for Thursday. The Apostle Paul had learned contentment, even during those times when he may have gone hungry for a few days or may have suffered persecution at the hands of others. We can read about his stint in the Philippian jail after being beaten in Acts chapter 16, when he and Silas were singing praises to God at midnight, despite their pain and their anguish. Paul also tells us about a thorn in the flesh that he was called to endure. He speaks about it in 2 Corinthians chapter 12 and how God worked despite this hardship. In 2 Corinthians 12 and verse 9, he says, 3 times I pleaded with the Lord about this, that it should leave me. But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Therefore, I will boast all the more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. This hardship in Paul's life was not something that he readily accepted. He actually says in these verses that he prayed 3 times that he would have it removed, even pleaded with the Lord. But God's answer was, it's okay. My grace is sufficient for you. In other words, God was going to help him endure the pain or the discomfort or the difficulty that he had here. The Lord even explained to him that this is so you will realize my power in your life. And whenever God told Paul, my power is made perfect in weakness, it is only when you must lean on me that you realize I am doing all these things in your life. So when Paul realized how God was working to help him endure hardships, he said, therefore, I will boast more gladly of my weaknesses, so that the power of Christ may rest upon me. Some say, so that I might be content in my weaknesses. You see, this is an avenue for me to realize Christ's sufficiency. Paul even says there in verse 10, for the sake of Christ, then, I am content with weaknesses, content with insults, hardships, persecutions, even calamities. For when I am weak, then I am strong. You see, contentment causes us to realize that God is at work in me. And when we finally can see that what God is doing, maybe to shape and mold our life or even our attitude, maybe our work and our ministry for Him, then we can find it a real contentment. You know, it's hard to read that Paul is content with weaknesses, because we like to show our strength. It's hard to see that he's content with insults. That goes against our pride completely, right? Or hardships and persecutions. None of us like to endure those things, right? Just general calamities. Just say no. But Paul says, I have learned contentment in all those things. Paul says, I have learned that through this hardship, I bear in my life, Christ's power is shown in my life. And I understand that I can lean on Him through all these calamities. You see, contentment is certainly a learned trait, but it may take some hardships, even some persecution, to realize it in our lives.